7 different ways scammers are using COVID-19 to target you.
So Ganesh, why don't you tell us about some ways that scammers are using COVID-19?
Yes, Andy. I mean, we all know we are in the middle of some major epidemic here, and that's not been lost on the scammers also. They are doing different things to unwitting people. In this scenario, there's an article from Hacker News, and they have categorized into 7 different types how these malware authors are trying to scam people. Also, I have one more additional way they can do it, which is from my end. I think what they classified into is, the first thing is they started with the mobile malware. The reason I think it's a little bit interesting because nowadays all the people are using their mobile phones rather than the regular laptops, I guess. There is a study done by Checkpoint researchers, and they found at least 16 mobile apps related to COVID-19 related information. They claim to be giving information about updates about COVID-19, but in fact, actually, they're serving the various types of malware. Like, for example, there's one Android app, actually, basically, it serves a COVID-like ransomware. It's a ransomware because it's themed on COVID. They kind of calling it as COVID-lock. That's one way of mobile malware. And the second technique they're using is always well-known email phishing. This has been actually our AT&T Alien Vault and has actually talked about on ThreatTraq last time. They have been tracking since sometime late December last year, and they have seen the different variations of threat actors trying to leverage this COVID-19 based theme to basically send lots of emails. In this case, millions of emails. I think it only increased since then because of the epidemic we are in right now. And the little variation in the third phishing is the SMS phishing. In this case, I think people are getting various types of fake SMS messages claiming to be some government agencies, for example, UK government, and maybe sometimes from United Nations, and urging people to lure them into click on the links. In fact, actually, that is also silently downloading some sort of malicious software, maybe some sort of keyloggers onto the devices itself. One of the most prominent ways it's being done is WhatsApp and similar kind of messaging applications. And the fourth one, I think it's called discounted off-the-shelf malware. In the sense, I think there are malware kits available. What these malware authors are doing is basically they're offering discounts on them, like a huge discount, so that people will get them and maybe they use it for various nefarious purposes. I think most often this is being used by booter and stressor services, where they're selling these DDoS services and also spamming kits. I think it seems to be booming successfully with this off-the-shelf malware. And the fifth category is malicious software. Malicious software, I think this is because of the recent changes we are doing. I think we are all working from home, right? And because of that, we are relying mostly on most of these online video conferencing services like Zoom, some other services. What these malicious actors doing is they're sending lots of phishing emails, like the ones we discussed above, fake SMS, and malicious downloaders claiming to be some sort of video conferencing services. But in fact, what they're doing is they're collecting some information about the users, maybe the content they have on their devices, and slowly exploiting it. That's one type of malicious software. And the sixth category is the ransomware attacks. Since this pandemic actually started, there's a huge increase in the ransomware attacks. The reason is that we are all working from home, and because people are working from home, the corporate security levels are gone down because the perimeter has now restrained and actually spread across the various users' homes. So basically, there's a little bit lower level of security there, and they're taking advantage of this lack in security a little bit, and they're targeting the users as well as corporations And in some cases, actually, they're targeting hospitals for ransomware to release the data. Because of the scenario we have in the hospital needs to have the data to carry out their basic day-to-day activities. And the seventh one they classified is, I do not know whether it may be fit into one of the categories, but still I'll talk about it. It's about face masks and hand sanitizer scans. Because of the huge demand for these masks and sanitizers, some of the scammers, what they did is that they basically compromised the business email accounts, and they are tricking users to faster delivery for these items, and actually they're siphoning the money from the unsuspecting users. These are the 7 categories. They're talking about the various ways these scammers are trying to exploit the COVID-19 pandemic. But on top of that, I have a bonus way actually maybe people should be aware, maybe we all should be aware. At these times of things, we always see some sort of help or charity kind of based scams coming up. For example, because people want to help, there will be numerous organizations coming up asking or soliciting for money to basically help healthcare professionals, maybe people in need. But we should be realistic, wary of it, what we are really doing it. And those are the different ways the scammers are trying to exploit the current scenario.
Well, that's really interesting, Ganesh. You spoke about now that everyone's working from home, a lot of corporate security might be a little bit lesser for that reason. And it's interesting because, if you're a company that isn't necessarily already set up to have their employees work from home, if I'm thinking like an attacker, maybe these companies are going to lower their security a little bit to make it to where their employees can work from home, to make some concessions in security to keep the business going, So
yeah.
It's very much opportunistic right now, and I would expect to see it in any future pandemic,
Yeah, I think this is one thing. It's always good to have a defense in layer and multiple layers of security, because you have more lines of defense against these kind of attacks. And always, again, actually, we have to be on guard. Because when you're clicking on something, especially with SMS-based clicks, especially also based on video conferencing software, there are so many are there. People sometimes unsuspectingly, because they want to collaborate, it just takes one click to just own. I think these are the 7 things to know, which ways they're trying to target, and maybe knowing about them, we can actually build our defenses against them.
So what can we do if I don't want to get compromised and I don't want to get duped, but I want to keep up to date with COVID-19. I want to know what's going on. How do I make sure that I don't click on the wrong thing or I don't install the wrong thing? What are your suggestions for that?
I think in this scenario, going back to previous case, what we've actually advised people, don't click on the shortened URL. Try to go to the authentic sources. For example, there's one source, UK.gov. But basically, even though they term the UK.gov, basically, I think the URL, in fact, transcribed it to the different one. I think those are the tiny things you have to be a little bit wary of it. And also maybe if you're an iOS user or maybe Android user, try to get it from the official Play stores instead of rather than going to some third-party websites and trying to get them.
Yeah, I agree. And in this case, there are well-known trusted sources that you can get that information from. So, if you do get a text message claiming there's this new thing happening with COVID-19, instead of clicking that link, where to go to get up-to-date information. You can go to the CDC website, you can go to the WHO website. There are government websites that'll give you up-to-date information. So in this case, it's a little easier because there are those trusted cases. But as always, like you said, don't click on the shortened link. Go to the full site. Make sure you know where you're going.
I think that's what I would do. It may take a little longer to type the full URL, but at least I know I'm going to the right thing. I'm not making any mistakes. I think we need to change a little bit, and that will go a long way to protect ourselves.
Kim, what are your thoughts on the 7 ways that scammers are utilizing COVID-19?
So I think it comes back to the point of humans being the weakest link and human error. and how, users are always clicking or fish bait to whatever someone sends them, and they're curious. So the curiosity that people have within, they're going to always click these links, and they've become more lax now that they're working from home. And we have policies at work that to practice more security when you're at work, but when they become more relaxed at home, I think it's getting worse because they're clicking on these links more so often and trying to find out about COVID-19, what's happening. And like you mentioned, they should go to the proper site if they need to watch the news rather than clicking links to find out, or if they need to go to the official media site, they can go there. But yeah, I think users are becoming more relaxed at home and not practicing the security that they normally would practice at home.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I hadn't even considered the fact that if you're home, you're generally more comfortable, and so you're less likely to practice, normal cybersecurity standards, things like don't click on phishing emails and such. That's really interesting. I didn't think about that. So what your suggestion to those folks, to people who are working from home like us, is don't put your guard down? Is that a fair summary?
Right, yeah. Don't put your guard down, still practice security, and don't be fish bait wherever you go. Just practice both at home and at work.
Mm-hmm.